the beauty of a religion is it admits it's a religion and it tells you what it stands for. The unsettling part of this technology, not just your company, but others, is that I don't know what it stands for, but it does stand for something. And unless it admits that and tells us what it stands for, then it guides us in a kind of stealthy way toward a conclusion we might not even know we're reaching. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, why not?
Now, if you've invented something, right? If you've come up with something, have had an idea, or you basically created something that, in the beginning you had good intentions about, that you trusted in, and you basically created it to be a help, but later on you find out, or you begin to realize that what you've created is going to be more of a problem. You got to know that something is completely wrong within that situation. All right. So we have a video that I want to go ahead and talk about today. Is on OpenAI. The founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, and he's on Tucker Carlson, and they're speaking about how, you know basically AI is going to be able to replace God in a sense. And that's exactly what's going on right now. I think a lot of people are using AI in place of God. They're making AI a God, an idol before them. And AI, believe me, is getting even more dangerous as the days go along. Like, look at how AI was. You could go ahead and take a video, well, you could go ahead and make a video of a situation or something that's happening of a specific race of people, group, gender, and you could tell it was AI. But now it's come to a point where it's like so powerful, so realistic that you could fool anybody with this thing, and it's getting completely bananas. So yeah, Sam Altman. I'm just gonna go ahead and basically look him up a little bit. I don't know much about him. I just want to go ahead and grab some history on him. Right now, read up on him before we do go ahead and get into the video. Before we get into the video, please, man, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and do not forget to comment in the comment section as well, because these things, have to be shared between people. We have to know about these things. We have to be warned of these things and be completely aware of these things, because we're living in the last days right now, and there's so much confusion and so much things going on that we're not aware of. But yeah, I'm gonna pull up like a little thing on this guy. As I said, let's see here. So it's like a brief little little history on him. So as you can see, he's from, where does it say? He's born, I think, in Chicago, from Jewish family. He dropped out of school after 2 years and started a company called Looped, and it was a mobile social networking service, which he raised 30 millions of venture capital. And he did all these things. Very smart guy. He's done many things. And what I notice about a lot of these CEOs or these, owners and creators, inventors, a lot of them drop out of school, because that just lets you know that the school system is not made for you to think for yourself. A lot of these people drop out of school because they have a brain capacity and they have better ideas and better things to do that school cannot teach them. I'm not discouraging anybody from going to school at all. Please go ahead, attend your university, go to your school, do what you got to do, study what you got to do, and all that. But yeah, this dude invented this thing called OpenAI, and now he's at a place right now where he's realizing how dangerous this thing is, and how it's gonna basically, in a way take over, um people's mind. People are gonna resort to it. People are gonna be dependent on this thing wholeheartedly, and that's exactly what's happening right now. In this world, there was a kid that was talking to an AI girl, and he ended up committing suicide. Uh, Let me try to find that story. Yeah, so let's see here. Okay. So right here. So this was on NPR. Teenager pastor. Let me go ahead and share it with you guys. So yeah, this teenager right here. Um okay, so his mother is Megan Garcia. She lost her 14-year-old son, Sewell, um by AI. So this kid was speaking to basically, that there's something he was speaking to an AI thing, and he took his own life. Because I think from his mother's testimony, she basically said that in the messages, the thing said that it wanted him to join her on the other side. So when we come to a place where we are completely far from God, we have no relationship with God, we could easily allow these things to di- draw us away from God, because these are demonic spirits that are operating within these things. And that just proves that we are in the last days. All these things have been shown before. You've watched the Terminator movies, you watch these futuristic movies, you watch the iRobots and stuff like that, and we just saw it as entertainment. We didn't see it much more than that. But these are things that are being put out there for us to realize, like, this is what the world is going to be like within a few years, and we're already here. We are already here 100%. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this video. I want you guys to listen to what this guy is saying, speaking about, the open AI and how, it's gonna in a way replace God. All right. It is for a lot of people. A lot of people are gonna feel like they don't need God no more, or not even have a relationship with the Lord anymore, because of AI and how smart it's gotten, and how it's gonna basically draw you away from a solid relationship with the Lord. That's why we have to make time to be in the presence of God, to pray, to fast, to read the word, to like be committed, man, because this is a time of so much deception. This is a time where deception is everywhere, everywhere. And that's if we allow it to take over us. So let's go ahead and listen to this. I want you guys to listen to this conversation. Let's hear exactly how what he said.
Your spiritual views.
Um, I'm Jewish. And I would say I have like a fairly traditional view of the world that way.
So you're religious. You believe in God.
Uh, I'm not like a literal, I'm not like a literalist on the Bible, but I'm not someone who says like I'm culturally Jewish. Like if you ask me, I would just say I'm Jewish.
But do you believe in God? Like, do you believe that there is a force larger than people, that created the earth, that set down a specific order for living, that there's an absolute morality attached that comes from that God?
I think probably like most other people, I'm somewhat confused on this, but I believe there is something bigger going on than, can be explained by physics, yes.
So you think the earth and the people were created by something? It wasn't just like a spontaneous accident?
Would I say that? It does not feel like a spontaneous accident, yeah. I don't think I have the answer. I don't think I know like exactly what happened, but I think there is a mystery beyond my comprehension here going on.
Have you ever felt communication from that force, or from any force beyond people, beyond the material?
No, not really.
I ask because it seems like the technology that you're creating or shepherding into existence will have more power than people on this current trajectory. I mean, that will happen. Who knows what will actually happen? But like, the graph suggests it. And so that would give you, more power than any living person. So I'm just wondering how you see that.
I used to worry about something like that much more. I think what will happen, I used to worry a lot about the concentration of power in one or a handful of people or companies because of AI.
Yeah.
What it looks like to me now, and again, this may evolve again over time, is that it'll be a huge up-leveling of people where everybody will be a lot more powerful, or everybody that embraces the technology will be a lot more powerful. But that's actually okay. That scares me much less than a small number of people getting a ton more power. If the kind of like ability of each of us just goes up a lot because we're using this technology and we're able to be more productive and more creative or discover new science, and it's a pretty broadly distributed thing, like billions of people are using it, that I can wrap my head around. That feels okay.
So you don't think this will result in a radical concentration in power?
It looks like not, but again, the trajectory could shift again and we'd have to adapt. I used to be very worried about that. And I think the kind of conception a lot of us in the field had about how this might go could have led to a world like that. But what's happening now is tons of people use ChatGPT and other chatbots, and they're all more capable. They're all kind of doing more. They're all, able to achieve more, start new businesses, come up with new knowledge. And that feels pretty good.
So if it's nothing more than a machine and just the product of its inputs, then the two obvious questions, like what are the inputs? Like what's the moral framework that's been put into the technology? Like what is right or wrong according to ChatGPT?
Do you want me to answer that one first?
I would.
Question.
Yeah.
So on that one, someone said something early on in ChatGPT when that really has stuck with me, which is one person at a lunch table said something like, we're trying to train this to be like a human. Like we're trying to learn like a human does and read these books and whatever. And then another person said, no, we're really like training this to be like the collective of all of humanity. We're reading everything. We're trying to learn everything. We're trying to see all these perspectives. And if we do our job right, all of humanity, good, bad, very diverse set of perspectives, some things that we'll feel really good about, some things that we'll feel bad about, that's all in there. Like this is learning the kind of collective experience, knowledge, learnings of humanity. Now, the base model gets trained that way, but then we do have to align it to behave one way or another and say, I will answer this question, I won't answer this question. And we have this thing called the model spec where we try to say, here are the rules we'd like the model to follow. It may screw up, but you could at least tell if it's doing something you don't like, is that a bug or is that intended? And we have a debate process with the world to get input on that spec. We give people a lot of freedom and customization within that. There are, absolute bounds that we draw, but then there's a default of if you don't say anything, how should the model behave? What should it do? How should it answer moral questions? How should it refuse to do something? What should it do? And this is a really hard problem. That we have a lot of users now and they come from very different life perspectives and what they want. But on the whole, I have been pleasantly surprised with the model's ability to learn and apply a moral framework.
But what moral framework? I mean, the sum total of like world literature or philosophy is at war with itself. Like the Marquis de Sade is, like nothing in common with the Gospel of John. Right. So like, how do you decide which is superior? That's why we wrote this like model spec of here's how we're going to handle these cases. Right. But what criteria did you use to decide what the model is? Like who decided that? Who did you consult? Like what's, why is the Gospel of John better than the Marquis de Sade?
We consulted like hundreds of moral philosophers, people who thought about like ethics of technology and systems. And at the end, we had to like make some decisions. The reason we try to write these down is because A, we won't get everything right. B, we need the input of the world. And we have found a lot of cases where there was an example of something that seemed to us like, a fairly clear decision of what to allow or not to allow, where users convinced us like, hey, by blocking this thing that you think is an easy decision to make, you are not allowing this other thing, which is important. And there's like a difficult trade-off there. In general, the attention so a principle that I normally like is to treat our adult users like adults. Very strong guarantees on privacy, very strong guarantees on individual user freedom. And this is a tool we are building. You get to use it within very broad framework. Within a very broad framework. On the other hand, as this technology becomes more and more powerful, there are clear examples of where society has an interest that is in significant tension with user freedom. And we could start with an obvious one, like, should ChatGPT teach you how to make a bioweapon? Now, you might say, hey, I'm just really interested in biology and I'm a biologist and I want to, I'm not going to do anything bad with this. I just want to learn. And I could go read a bunch of books, but ChatGPT can teach me faster and I want to learn how to, I want to learn about like novel virus synthesis or whatever. And maybe you do. Maybe you really don't want to like cause any harm. But I don't think it's in society's interest for ChatGPT to help people build bioweapons. And so that's a case.
Sure, that's an easy one, though. There are a lot of tougher ones.
I did say start with an easy one.
Yeah. Well, every decision is ultimately a moral decision, and we make them without even recognizing them as such. And this technology will be, in effect, making them for us.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I don't agree with it'll be making them for us, but it will have to.
It'll be influencing the decisions for sure. And because it'll be embedded in daily life. And so who made these decisions? Like who are the people who decided that one thing is better than another?
You mean like,
what are their names?
Which kind of decision?
The specs that you alluded to that create the framework that does attach a moral weight to worldviews and decisions, like, you know, liberal democracy is better than Nazism or whatever. They seem obvious, and in my view are obvious, but are still moral decisions. So who made those calls?
As a matter of principle, I don't like dox our team, but we have a model behavior team, and the people who want to.
Well, it affects the world.
What I was going to say is the person I think you should hold accountable for those calls is me. Like I'm a public face. Eventually, like I'm the one that can overrule one of those decisions or our board.
And I turned 40 this spring.
I won't make every.
It's pretty heavy. I mean, do you think and it's not an attack, but I wonder if you recognize sort of the importance.
How do you think we're doing on it?
I'm not sure. But I think these decisions will have, you know, global consequences that we may not recognize at first. And so I just wonder,
there's a lot.
Do you get into bed at night and think like the future of the world hangs on my judgment?
Look, I don't sleep that well at night. There's a lot of stuff that I feel a lot of weight on, but probably nothing more than the fact that every day hundreds of millions of people talk to our model. And I don't actually worry about us getting the big moral decisions wrong. Maybe we will get those wrong too. But what I lose more sleep over is the very small decisions we make about a way a model may behave slightly differently. But it's talking to hundreds of millions of people, so the net impact is big.
So, but I mean, all through history, like recorded history up until like 1945, people always deferred to what they conceived of as a higher power in order. Hammurabi did this. Every moral code is written with reference to a higher power. There's never been anybody who's like, well, that kind of seems better than that. Everybody appeals to a higher power, and you said that you don't really believe that there's a higher power communicating with you. So I'm wondering, like, where did you get your moral framework?
I mean, like everybody else, I think the environment I was brought up in probably is the biggest thing. Like my family, my community, my school, my religion, probably that.
Do you ever think, I think that's a very American answer, like everyone kind of feels that way. But in your specific case, since you said these decisions rest with you, that means that the milieu in which you grew up and the assumptions that you imbibed over years are going to be transmitted to the globe, to billions of people. That's like a big thing.
I want to be clear. I view myself more as like I
like the fact that Tucker Carlson is basically grilling him, because these are things that you have to know, man. Like you created something that probably will come to a place in a space that you won't be able to control. And we have to know like where your mind is at coming up with this thing, making these decisions, because it's going to affect everybody. And I like that he's grilling him. He has to grill him on this. He has to find out exactly what's going on, where his mind's at, because people are going to use this. It's going to affect people, and we have to know exactly where your head's at, man. If you're creating something that's going to, cause people to make decisions, that's going to basically run people's lives. So where's your head at?
I think the world, like our user base, is going to approach the collective world as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we should do is try to reflect the moral, I don't want to say average, but the like collective moral view of that user base. There's plenty of things that ChatGPT allows that I personally would disagree with. But I don't like, obviously, I don't wake up and say, I'm going to like impute my exact moral view and decide that like this is okay and that is not okay and this is a better view than this one. What I think ChatGPT should do is reflect that like weighted average or whatever of humanity's moral view, which will evolve over time. And we are here to like serve our users. We're here to serve people. This is like, this is a technological tool for people. And I don't mean that it's like my role to make the moral decisions, but I think it is my role to make sure that we are accurately reflecting the preferences of humanity, or for now of our user base and eventually of humanity.
Well, I mean, humanity's preferences are so different from the average middle American preference. So would you be comfortable with an AI that was like as against gay marriage as most Africans are?
There's a version of that, like, I think individual users should be allowed to have a problem with gay people. And if that's their considered belief, I don't think the AI should tell them that they're wrong or immoral or dumb. I mean, it can, sort of say, hey, you want to think about it this other way, but like I probably have like a bunch of moral views that the average African would find really problematic as well. And I think I should still get to have them.
Right.
I think I probably have more comfort than you with like allowing a sort of space for people to have pretty different moral views, or at least I think in my role as like running ChatGPT, I have to do that.
So what will be the downside? I mean, I can see the upsides for sure.
Yeah.
Efficiency, medical diagnosis seems like it's going to be much more accurate. Fewer lawyers. Thank you very much for that. But what are the downsides that you worry about?
I think this is just like kind of how I'm wired. I always worry the most about the unknown unknowns. If it's a downside that we can really like be confident about and think about, we talked about one earlier, which is these models are getting very good at bio, and they could help us design biological weapons, engineer like another COVID-style pandemic. I worry about that, but because we worry about it, I think we and many other people in the industry are thinking hard about how to mitigate that. The unknown unknowns where, okay, there's a societal scale effect from a lot of people talking the same model at the same time. This is like a silly example, but it's one that struck me recently. LLMs like ours and our language model and others have a kind of certain style to them. They talk in a certain rhythm and they have a little bit unusual diction, and maybe they overuse em dashes and whatever. And I noticed recently that real people have like picked that up. And it was an example for me of like, man, you have enough people talking the same language model, and it actually does cause a change in societal scale behavior.
Yes.
And, did I think that ChatGPT was going to make people use way more em dashes in real life? Certainly not. It's not a big deal, but it's an example of where there can be these unknown unknowns of this is a brave new world.
So you're saying, I think correctly and succinctly, that technology changes human behavior, of course, and changes our assumptions about the world and each other and all that. And a lot of this you can't predict, but considering that we know that, why shouldn't the internal moral framework of the technology be totally transparent? We prefer this to that. I mean, this is obviously a religion. I don't think you'll agree to call it that. It's very clearly a religion to me. That's not an attack.
I actually would love, I don't take that as an attack, but I would love to hear what you mean by that.
Well, it's something that we assume is more powerful than people, and to which we look for guidance. I mean, you're already seeing that on display. What's the right decision? I ask that question of whom? My closest friends, my wife, and God. And this is a technology that provides a more certain answer than any person can provide. So it's a religion. And the beauty of religions is they have a catechism that is transparent. I know what the religion stands for. Here's what it's for. Here's what it's against. But in this case, I pressed, and I wasn't attacking you sincerely. I was not attacking you, but I was trying to get to the heart of it. The beauty of a religion is it admits it's a religion, and it tells you what it stands for. The unsettling part of this technology, not just your company, but others, is that I don't know what it stands for, but it does stand for something. And unless it admits that and tells us what it stands for, then it guides us in a kind of stealthy way toward a conclusion we might not even know we're reaching. Do you see what I'm saying? So like, why not just throw it open and say, ChatGPT is for this, we're for suicide for the terminally ill, but not for kids or whatever. Like, why not just tell us?
I mean, the reason we write this long model spec
Yeah.
And the reason we keep expanding it over time is so that you can see here is how we intend for the model to behave. What used to happen before we had this is people would fairly say, I don't know what the model's even trying to do. And I don't know if this is a bug or the intended behavior.
Right.
Tell me what this long document of, tell me how you're going to when you're going to do this and when you're going to show me this and when you're going to say you won't do that. The reason we try to write this all out is I think people do need to know.
And so is there a place you can go to find out a hard answer to what your preferences as a company are, preferences that are being transmitted in a not entirely straightforward way to the globe? Like, where can you find out what the company stands for, what it prefers?
I mean, our model spec is the answer to that. Now, I think we will have to make it increasingly more detailed over time as people use this in different countries. There's different laws, whatever else. It will not work the same way for every user everywhere. I expect that document to get very long and very complicated,
right.
But that's why we have it.
Yo, man, honestly, this whole thing is, I mean, in a sense, it's scary if you don't have God. But the word of God is true, and it says that, in the last days, all these things that are happening are going to happen. And that's exactly what's happening right now. You understand? But like I said, what I got from this is it was a good question that Tucker Carlson was asking. He was like, we don't know exactly what this company stands for. If it's here to cater to everybody, we don't know what it agrees with, what it doesn't agree with. And people are using this thing as a god now. They're using this thing to confide in, to find how, how to do so many things. It's like we're getting dumber while this thing is ranking up in power and ranking up in authority. We're dependent on this thing and these AI things, so much so that we don't have our own mindset. We don't even trust ourselves. You understand? Because technology has become so big to the point that it is a god now. And that's precisely so. That's exactly what this whole thing is about. We are in the last days. We are in the end times. It's going to get worse from here. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else you need, he will provide. Read the word of God, meditate upon it, pray, fast. Let the Bible be your guide. Not ChatGPT, not OpenAI, not any of these AI things. Let the word of God be what you confide in, where you are consulted, where you get your values, your morals from. Because if you allow these things to take over your life, you are not going to have any type of morals, because it's going to be based on what somebody in the office thinks, what a company thinks, and whatever they believe is what you're going to believe as well, because it's going to influence your lifestyle. All right. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video if you found it informative. Do not forget to comment as well. And as I always say at the end of every video, seek the Lord God for yourself and fasten in the reading of the word and in prayer, because salvation is indeed personal. Yeah, man. Serious. See you on the next one. Deuces.